Here we are. How are the lads?
All good. Yourself?
Good stuff, yeah.
Good. We're here eventually. It's supposed to be a bi-weekly thing, but we had lots of technical difficulties because I live in Wexford, and Wexford apparently is a black hole for the internet. Yeah, we're eventually connected. But yeah, we have a few things to go through with this podcast because we haven't done this in a while. We're going to make this episode about a bit of a taboo subject at the moment, which is live music, which I think is kind of hard to think about because everyone just wants to go to a gig. So it is a bit of a taboo. Everyone still pretends that the world is normal when we talk about live music. I'll be like, oh, I can't wait to go see them when they come back, or when we're allowed to, or just like, yeah, we talk about gigs that used to happen and different festivals and stuff, but we're not really sure when the hell these are going to come back. So yeah, we're going to make this episode all about live music, and we've got a few games from myself and Shane, and Ian is going to cover a classic live album. But we also will be announcing the winner of our competition, which we ran maybe 2 years ago now, it feels like, I think. Yes, our t-shirt giveaway competition that we did with our last episode a month ago. We're going to finally announce the winner for that later on. We're going to pick it out of a hat, so it's going to be a surprise. But to start off, what was the last live gig either of you were at, Shane?
I actually can't remember. I'm trying to decide when did we go see Mac DeMarco?
No, it was November 2019, Vicar Street.
I think
I
think that
forgot
was
that
the last big gig that I went to, and I'm sure we probably went to a gig somewhere in town, in like Whelan's or somewhere like that. But that's the last gig I, bought a ticket, went to see, queued up outside, and went over to. That was a great gig. Like, it had everything. Mac DeMarco diving into the crowd and being surfed and climbing up onto the balcony and jumping in again, arguing with the security guard who was trying to get him to not do it. All the while, the band was vamping on tequila, which was my favorite part of it. Yeah, it was just a really fun night and a great gig. So not a bad one to be the last one I've been to.
I think that was my last big gig as well. That rekindled my hope for live music, because I'd been to see a lot of current bands. I went to see Men I Trust and Crumb and a lot of bands that are like Father John Misty, a lot of these bands, and people just stand there and film it, or they do nothing. Which, in fairness, is what I kind of do at most gigs. I was like, oh shit, his like participation just gone out the window. And then Mac DeMarco was like, there was no phones out really. Everyone was just actually fucking going mental, jumping around and stuff. So it was funny that the last gig I got to see before this happened was me going, yes, a bit of hope. And then coronavirus is like, nah, there's no hope. Shut up.
Yeah, it was definitely an improvement on his summer gig anyway.
That was woeful. That was an all ages gig.
Absolutely.
I think that proved to me that the generation below us doesn't know how to enjoy itself outside. Like, I think they're so connected to the internet that when they actually get to a place, it's like they're still watching YouTube videos.
Yeah, Jesus, it felt just like that actually.
It was an all ages gig in Ivy Gardens, and it was just weird. It was full of awkward internet nerds, and it was just bizarre. It was really fucking bizarre. There was no atmosphere at all at it.
I think like 2019 for me, for gigs, like big gigs, that is, like, Jesus, what a year to kind of go out on in terms of the last gigs I'd ever see. Like, the three big ones for me, like, you had Meat Puppets, you had Metallica live at Slane,
Jesus.
and then you had Mac DeMarco not once but twice. Like, what a year. I it was just fantastic. But Jesus, little did we know.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, me and you really did cram them in that year.
Yeah.
I went to Berlin in
That's right, yeah.
October for 4 nights and went to 3 gigs. which is completely by accident. I went over there to see King Gizzard, and then completely by accident I found out that on 2 of the other nights that I was there, the Alalaz were playing, and Durant Jones and the Indicators were playing as well. just like perfectly 3 nights in a row in 3 different venues. It was. They knew when
Perfect.
2020 was coming. I think someone knew.
Yeah.
That's a lot of gigs. I would say Elvana last in 2019 as well.
Oh,
Genuinely up there as one of the best gigs I've ever seen. I think.
I really wished I really wanted to go see them. Like I wish I got to go to that.
Yeah,
If
Yeah.
anyone doesn't know, it's a Nirvana tribute band, but they're fronted by an Elvis impersonator. And just look them up on YouTube because they're class.
what's the best thing as well is I had no idea where they're from because your man, who's the Elvis impersonator the whole way through it, doesn't really talk. He's just like, oh, thank you very much. And this, he's just Elvis. But then at the very end, he's like, oh, we're seriously humbled to be here. Thanks very much for having us. You know, we really love getting over here. And he's like, and by the way, this is my real voice. I'm from fucking Newcastle. So he's like, he was like, think about that for a while. We're dressed in suits, playing Nirvana songs, pretending to be Elvis, and we're from Newcastle.
I had no idea they're from Newcastle. Jesus.
He had a really, really strong Geordie accent.
That's
Oh my
hilarious.
god, that's hilarious. I honestly thought they were American.
No, he's from fucking Newcastle. The last gig that I was at was my first time at Bloody Mary's in Dublin. I went to see Nice Try on the 11th of March, the day before the schools shut down.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Jeez, that is right up to the end. Like,
Yeah, and I was working, so it was a Wednesday because the 12th was a Thursday, I'm pretty sure, when the school shut down. And the gig, it was packed. There was loads of people at it, and it was a good crowd. That when the band started playing, everyone shut up and just turned around and listened. And Nice Try were really good. Yeah, I was sickened because I really wanted to stay out and see the rest of the gig and drink more, but it just got too late. I think the band started late, and I had to go home. If I'd fucking known. But and I went to see Aoife Wolf on the 20th of January in Whelan's, supporting Nice Try. I would say it's my last 2 gigs were Nice Try. So there we go. I'll put them on the playlist. They have a very good song called Willows with some very good guitars on it. Yeah, I just asked that because, like, what are your opinions on how music will come back? When do you think we'll actually get to go to a gig again? And what will a gig be like? Because they put gigs on last summer. They were sit-down acoustic gigs with spaced-out tables, and you had to sit down, and a waitress would come over and ask you for a drink, and you couldn't leave. You had to wear a mask. And it was usually solo performers or more laid-back bands. They did that in the Workman's. We can't have that. Like, you can't go see Metallica in that capacity. You can't go see King Gizzard in that capacity. And as I've always said, health and safety doesn't take a step backwards. Once health and safety measures are in, we rarely get rid of them. So, like, I grew up 2001, 2002 watching footage of old Nirvana gigs from 93 where everyone's crowd surfing, people are even jumping up on stage, pushing into the musicians, jumping back in, and there's kind of like very lackluster security guards there just kind of like pushing them off stage, not making much of an attempt to, if someone starts actually like kicking someone else or something, they jump in. But it was all very easy going. There was people climbing up on speakers. And then if you go back even further to like Woodstock or old like hurling football matches from the 70s, there's people just hanging out of rafters and everywhere. But then health and safety kicked in. The late 90s, more aggressive music got further out to the masses. So thousands of people were going to gigs and trying to act like they were in the Smells Like Teen Spirit video. And that all resulted in Woodstock 99, where people just lost their fucking minds and burnt things and molested girls. And so then all these like safety precautions came in, and then obviously there was a Smash Pumpkins in Dublin where people died, got crushed in the crowds. The gig in Roskilde with Pearl Jam where 3 of their fans got crushed. That's the thing. I grew up thinking, geez, I can't wait to go to a gig because it's going to be like that Nirvana gig where everyone's like packed into a room moshing, crowd surfing. And when I went to a gig, nobody acted like that. There was security guards everywhere. You're not allowed crowd surf. You're not allowed push. You're not allowed mosh. So like, what the hell is it going to be like when we come back? First of all, people are going to be kind of afraid of each other. When is there going to be like a crazy moshing gig again that you'll actually go see in a big venue?
We don't know. We know that like they'll experiment with lower capacity gigs and having people distant and things like that. What's springing to my mind right now, actually, just thought of this is, do you know what the biggest gig is right now? What's happening right now in the world? The biggest concerts?
Australia, surely, yeah.
Yeah. So Crowded House are currently the biggest band in the world because they're the only band doing a tour of New Zealand and Australia. So they're playing right now the biggest concerts in the world. And it's because they have but I suppose they have so few cases or no cases at all that they can do it. And it's amazing to watch. It's actually weird to watch. I've been watching videos on Instagram and on YouTube and stuff, and you're kind of getting nostalgic for it watching it. It's just like a normal crowd. There's a big crowd at the front, seats all around the back, and they're actually just, there's no masks in the place, and it's just an actual gig. So it's really cool, but that's why I'm saying it's an impossible question to answer, because we don't know what it looks like here, because we get so little direction of what how things are going. Like over there, they know they've gotten their cases down, they locked everything down, and now they can start to reopen and everything's kind of back to normality. But we don't know what that's like or what it's going to look like here. So that's kind of my feeling towards it,
Yeah, like in Barcelona, they were putting concerts on, I think, for 4,000 or 5,000 people.
Yeah.
They must have been outdoors, but they were doing antigen tests, and everyone who went in had to have tested negative. But that's still not like an absolute guarantee, and it would still be very edgy for the people putting it on and for the people at it. Like, no one's gonna be fully happy at that. Like, everyone's still gonna have this idea of false negatives, false positives, all this sort of thing. And then there was the Dutch experiment of the festival. They did a festival for 3,000 people. Everyone had to get like a negative test, and then they told everyone to go in and do exactly what you do at a festival. Don't be cautious. And they put trackers on everyone had to have this app on their phone, and it was just to track everyone's movement at a festival, just to see how much people actually get around when they're at a festival and how many other people they come in contact with.
But just back to that Barcelona one, because I was looking that up myself, and yeah, it was 5,000, but like that antigen test thing's amazing. Like in terms of, it was an app, and within 10 or 15 minutes you get your results. If you were a positive case, you're basically politely told to go home, and you get a refund, which was, it's quite a fair system. But the one thing that I thought would just not be practical on any sort of a large scale was the actual testing of the people, because they had a team. Actually, they had, I think, 3 or 4 teams dotted throughout Barcelona a few days beforehand, and all in all, there were like 80 nurses involved in the testing of people.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just not practical. It's a great test and see it can be done, but the practicalities of it. I saw as well then, just as you were saying, Frank, earlier on, like an awful lot of plans and even the funding, like, the 50 million funding there that the Irish government announced, a month or two ago. It's all for, like, with the assumption that it'll be back to normal in late summer or something. It's all like, we'll give pubs and clubs stimulus packages to get open again. It's like, yeah, but but one thing that I did see in it, I don't think there was enough publication on this, because I read it in the plan, like, I didn't hear much in news bulletins or anything. But one interesting thing was nearly like trying to rejuvenate, nearly like village greens and like small little open town centres and parks.
Yeah.
The councils are given funding to set up basically outdoor venues, or outdoor
bandstands.
Bandstands, exactly. And I thought that was an excellent idea. And I heard feck all of that in the media, but I read it in the report, like, or their, their stimulus package, or whatever, Just thought that was interesting.
Well, I do think if cases like significantly go down with vaccination and genuinely things can start to go back to a state of normality where they can start announcing gigs, tours, people feel comfortable to go to them, that like cases are genuinely down for a long time, and even if it is a case of you have to be vaccinated to get in places, which everyone should be at least by 2022, that not just public sympathy But because there's been so much uproar for the people who haven't had jobs, for live industries, for venues, I think there's going to be an absolute renaissance for live music and art and everything. That it's going to have money fucking thrown at it, because it's going to be like, well, you just neglected us for so fucking long. That it will be a case of the government will throw bursaries and all this, and I really hope they put it in the right areas and not stupid areas like giving it to bands to record albums and stuff, because that's not what's needed. You can record an album in your bedroom, fuck that.
Yeah, because like they're currently doing that. You know?
Don't give a bursary to some, like the likes of us, don't give us 10 grand to go record an album. That's not helping anybody. It's helping the three of us finish a vanity project, but it's not actually helping culture. So like, put it back into your venues, create hubs for everybody to go to, create a music scene, and just have fucking live music every night of the week, because people also have money to burn, like younger people who have been sitting around doing nothing and who are lucky enough to still be working through it. You have loads of money if you're not like trying to put it on a house or something, so you're going to be dying to get out and do as much as you can. So I think people are gonna, as I'm saying, like, we're sitting around reminiscing about all the bands we went to see that were like, if I could go and if they were coming to Dublin, I would go see Mac DeMarco, Elvana every night, every week. I wouldn't care about the money. If that was available for me next week, I'm doing it. So I think a lot of people are going to be in that mindset. I think if and when it can come back, it's going to be brilliant. So I would like to think that all of those gigs that we played to absolutely nobody on a Monday or a Tuesday or something like that, people are going to either throw money for events to be on, or they will actually just pay attention going, oh, live band, look at that. I'm just, who are they? So there's just going to be attention put on it. So I'm hopeful. For once, I'm hopeful. I think for something to be fixed, it has to be, you have to hit rock bottom to go up, and I do think that this could be the rock bottom, that especially for Ireland, because the live music scene in Ireland was fucking woeful, and hopefully we don't just slip back into the way we were, which is my biggest fear, which could very well happen, but I'm going to choose to hope that it won't.
Glass half full, Frank, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
But you're right though, like I like the Irish live music scene in Dublin anyway was meandering in the doldrums, and now you're right, like it has only one way to go, and that's up. Like, so if pubs or venues were incentivized to have more gigs on every night of the week, and it makes sense, like, you know, people have been in a lockdown where they haven't gone out at all, you're just going to be raring to go and be like, oh, there's a band on in this pub tonight, let's go. You've no excuse.
I hope, that's what I'm hoping, like stimulus packets and just sympathy put on from bursaries and grants and funding and stuff like that, it will start going to artists, because my fear is that everything will open back up again and it will just go back to exactly the way it was. But the first one thing we will be missing when we open back up is there will be no tourists to begin with. So Dublin won't be able to rely on the tourist industry. We'll have to actually try to get Irish people out, and hopefully I'm hoping that Irish people don't just fall into pubs and just once again let our drinking culture outweigh our any other type of culture, which could very well fucking happen, unfortunately.
Yeah
But I'm hopeful.
It can't get no worse.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not going to take Frank's hope away from him. He's finally found a bit of hope. No. So,
well,
we're not going to talk you out of it.
My hope, I can't. Other time I got hopeful, I just went out and I saw that there was no point to be hopeful. So now there's no way for my hope to be proven wrong. So it's like Schrodinger's cat. So
that's right.
If I can't look in the box, it could be good or bad. So I'm going to choose to believe that it's going to be good.
Inside that venue is Frank's hopes, and they're either dead or they're alive, but we won't know until we get there.
Yeah. Exactly.
For fuck's sake, fucking hammer. Jesus Christ. God damn it, fucking drill. Stupid bastard shells. Level, I'll fucking level you fucking prick. Oi, oi, Squire. Take a chill pill.
or else you be brown bread. Keith here from Cockney Keith's Carpentry. Ever since I came back to the motherland, when I took over my granddad's business there in 2002, just off the M50 there on the old airport road, you know, I see all these lovely DIY projects gone horribly, horribly wrong. Well, you know what? Now's the time all that's coming to an end. You want to be professional at home, fitting those shelves, doing correct levelling, hammering and drilling like no tomorrow. Well, Keith has your 10-step plan to turn it all around. All you need to do is sign up on www.cockneykeithcarpentry.ie, and for only €120.99 you get 10 online classes, 1 hour each, and it will show you the perfect way to get your DIY looking professional. Proper job, you know, banging. Or you don't want to go online, no problem. Give the dog a bone there on 1-800-KETHCERPDY. Cockney Keith's Carpentry, bringing professional carpentry to everyone.
Great record.
Excellent album. We learned a lot from
Great
it.
record.
And we're back. The Elephant Room Podcast here. We're talking about live music, and it's very serious. But Ian's got a classic album for us to match our theme. So take it away, Ian.
Cheers, Frank. Yeah. So for our theme of live music, all things live, I don't think we can do this episode without mentioning or doing a little bit of a delve into one of the quintessential double live LPs of the 70s. It is Thin Lizzy's Live and Dangerous. Arguably one of the best Irish live albums. Or is it live? All will be revealed. So just to kind of give it a bit of context where it kind of came in the timeline with Thin Lizzy. Obviously in 76, you know, they had Jailbreak, which was the big album for them with Boys Are Back in Town and Jailbreak on it, obviously. Believe it or not, the two previous albums before Jailbreak, they didn't do that well. And, you know, they weren't that successful, and they were like the first couple of albums on the label Vertigo, you know, and Vertigo, like they're quite big, you know. Jailbreak was their last kind of get out of jail card. They're like, right, listen, lads, you know, if you can't turn around with this album, I don't think we can continue on, you know. And sure, of course, Jailbreak just absolutely rocket launched them into the stratosphere with Boys Are Back in Town. But the follow-up one then, Bad Reputation in 77, again, did incredibly well, mostly on the back of Jailbreak. And that was actually their first album produced by Tony Visconti. So, you know, the absolute famous rock producer, you know, Bowie, T-Rex, you name it. Basically, the band wanted to work with Tony again and said, yeah, we'd love to do a second album. And Vertigo were chomping at the bit. They wanted another album put out straight away. It's like, oh, we need to ride this wave. Like, you know, Phil and co approached Tony and said, here, you know, we'd like to get together and do another studio album with you. And Tony had too many commitments at the time. He was working with Bowie. He was working with Rick Wakeman and a few others, you know, so he said, I'm really sorry, lads, but I don't have time. So Phil was like, well, you know, we kind of really want to work with you, you know, we were really happy with Bad Reputation. Phil and I went off and said, here, I'll see if there's anything we can muster, you know, but still kind of using Tony's input. So Phil went off and got a load of live tapes, so about 30 hours of live material from 76 to I think 77. It was the UK, US and Canada tours, one after the other basically. So it was a ton of live stuff, and he landed in to Tony Visconti's office and said, here we go, over 30 hours, you know, what are we going to do? Let's create some sort of cool live album. Visconti was like, wow, yeah, this is unbelievable, and you know, what's your timeline? So Vertigo, they wanted it out straight away. So it's like, here, 2 weeks. You know, spend 2 weeks producing that, you know, getting it all together, and then we'll go and press it, get it out. Initial 2 week project turned into 8 weeks. what we would now know as Live and Dangerous. The reason why it took 8 weeks is this is where the history now gets very controversial with Live and Dangerous. It's a bit dangerous, you know. So they were playing back a lot of tape, and they kind of roughly settled on the 16 or 17 tracks that they wanted on the album. And they were listening back, and Phil was like, "Oh, my vocals are a bit ropey there on a few of them. What do you think about touching up?" And Visconti was very accommodating, and he said, "Yeah, no problem. We'll set up a recording booth. I'll get a bit of a setup going where it sounds a bit live, so it'll be fine." So they got that going. Phil was really happy with it to the extent. Now, this is where fact versus fiction versus myth comes in, right? But Tony Visconti himself says this was where Phil said, "Let's completely redo my lead vocals on all 17 tracks." Anyway, they started doing that. It was then noticed by both Gorham and Scott Gorham and Brian Robertson. They came in one of the days like, "Oh Jesus, lads, our backing vocals woeful. There's loads of times we're just not at the mic, So they went in and touched up their backing vocals, and then this is where it really gets into the myth, because Brian Robertson vehemently denies this, but Scott Gorham. I'll get on to it in a few minutes about Scott Gorham, because it kind of proves exactly what Live and Dangerous was. But anyway, the story goes that they redone a load of the guitar solos, completely. And Phil also did most of the bass again. So, so basically Visconti said that the only things that were live on the entire album that weren't touched by the studio were the drums and the audience. And even the audience for one track, for Rosalie, was actually pre-programmed. He created like a little tape loop, a 20-second tape loop of the crowd clapping, because Phil wanted them clapping along. So it's just mad. So Visconti himself kind of says it was about 75% recorded in the studio, but Lizzie's manager came out, saying, no, it's 75% live. Visconti himself, like, I think it's quite a good quote. Like, he says, "Despite the necessary trickery, this album is very real. It represents electrifying moments before an audience and fabulous second chances to get it right in the studio. After all, it went platinum at number 2 in the British charts." So,
it's Brian Robertson vehemently denies that it was overdubbed.
Absolutely, yeah.
Completely. But like, there's some songs where the guitars kick in, or when you hear the guitars fade out, they're so obviously overdubbed.
Oh yeah, completely.
Like, a lot of the guitar solos, they're crystal clear, and you can almost hear them overlap with the live take.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, he's talking nonsense.
No, that's exactly it. Like, and if you go back and look at the inconsistencies in their playing back then, because they were fairly on top of their game then. Maybe I'd probably say Jailbreak was probably when they're at their best in terms of playing. But and Bad Reputation as well. But you see the excesses come in now of just fame and playing live, and like Robertson himself admits he couldn't take it. So he just turned to drinking drugs, In particular, the drink, like, that really affected his playing. Really, like, there's so many bum notes and everything with his guitar solos and that, as in the live ones, Yeah, it's an interesting one in terms of it being one of the most hailed live albums. But, well, I mean, the drums, the backbone of it's all live.
Yeah. Like, there's a lot of live albums, I'd say, obviously not as massively famous, but there's a lot of live albums that come out that aren't live by big bands, like, that are big budget, going to be big sellers, that definitely aren't what was done on the night. Yeah,
because I think Visconti himself kind of said it in another article. It's like, you'd want to be completely naive to assume that any live album, in the 60s, 70s, right up to modern day, is 100% live,
Yeah.
But just when I was saying there a few minutes ago about Scott Gorham more or less completely admitting what like what happened in 2009 without saying it, but his actions show. Have you ever heard of the album Still Dangerous?
Yes.
You have heard it. Okay, so yeah, so in 2009, Scott Gorham and Brian Downey, more Scott Gorham. So obviously Phil is unfortunately long gone at this stage, But Scott Gorham decided to put out the album called Still Dangerous. Basically, it's a compilation of live tracks from those very tours that were taken from Live and Dangerous, but it is completely live, warts and all, So I think that act alone, that Scott Gorham felt the need to put this out in 2009 to try and set the record straight. It just proves, doesn't it?
Yeah.
There was even one step further last year in 2020. Still Dangerous. Absolutely, yeah. It's fantastic. It is. It's like the Let It Be Naked, basically, for Live and Dangerous. However, there's a lot of tracks missing from it, from Live and Dangerous, that a lot of fans love, you know? So in 2020, the wonderful bootleg underground decided to release an album called Back in Chicago. And that essentially tries to make up for the tracks that weren't on Still Dangerous. Again, completely live, no overdubs, nothing like that. And it does a pretty good job now. You know, like it's a little bit rough because obviously it's a bootleg. It is quite interesting because you do see all the flaws that Phil Robertson and Scott Gorham, you know, highlighted when they're in the studio with Visconti. You know, you have the backing vocals completely missing their cues. You know, you have Phil being ropey, a few bum bass notes. Like it's mad. You know. It's a real time capsule. Like this is what it actually was like, you know.
But like the drink and drugs aside, like
yeah,
we know from playing music that like when you really get into it and you're, especially if you're being physical, like if you're jumping around or moving or dancing or anything, you're not always going to be singing directly into the microphone, or you're not always going to be hitting the exact notes as you are when you're stone cold sober, not moving in a studio. So like a lot of the time when you go, geez, that was a great practice session or that was a great gig, and you listen back to it and you go, oh, it doesn't sound as good as it felt. But if you were to watch it, you'd go, this is amazing because the energy in the room and stuff like that. So like there's live stuff is always going to be ropey.
Yeah.
Especially when you listen back to it. Like you're sitting there by yourself in your bedroom listening to something that you kind of had to be, you know, had to be there for it, you know.
I think it was just like, I think it was just a case, my own opinion anyway, I think it was a case that Phil himself was a bit too overly critical of himself and the band's performance.
Yeah.
And it was him who kind of spearheaded going into the studio doing the overdubs. So as you said there, like, you know, I don't think people expected a completely polished performance live, but obviously he was super critical at the time of himself and the band, you know.
But you're right, though. Sometimes, Frank, you have to sacrifice maybe hitting the right note for a high kick, or
and pointing at that girl in the crowd. You know, you gotta.
Yeah.
That's what Phil would have been doing. So, like,
completely. You know.
It also has that famous line in, isn't it? It's the end of Jailbreak, or is that at the beginning of the?
Are you on about Emerald? Is there any girls like a bit of Irish in them?
Yeah. That's
like
it's the most famous bit of banter going.
Yeah.
To an Irish person, anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Like anyway, yeah, like, you know, the truth, the myth, the legend of Live and Dangerous laid bare for everyone.
It's time to play a fucking game. Yes, it is a fucking game, and this fucking game is called
Whose Comment Is It Anyway? Okay, and we are back, and it's time to play a bit of a game. Are you excited, lads?
Can you wait?
It's called Whose Comment Is It Anyway? Where I do a deep dive into YouTube comments, and the lads have to guess what video I'm talking about. This week, to stick with the theme, it's live and it's in Ireland. So it's a live in Ireland edition. I'm just going to kick off, and I've some of these, I've several YouTube comments to try help you along, and I will give hints if you're struggling. Okay, first one. This, kids, is your grandpa's rock band. I love it. You guys still rock it. I've been rocking out since the early 80s. Do you want another quote or another comment?
Yeah.
Certain songs never fail to bring me goosebumps, even after all these years.
Dubliners.
No. I'll give you a hint. They're not an Irish band. They're just live in Ireland. And this concert was mentioned already in the podcast. I'll give you another comment.
Metallica.
There you go. Metallica. I'll finish. Now that I've started, I'll finish. Even the security guards were enjoying the concert. Who knew the world was going to end after this gig?
They opened up the gates of hell.
Yeah, so that was Metallica live at St. Castle, June 2019. So what was your favorite part of that night, Ian?
Oh God, the whole thing was just unbelievable. I do remember thinking being just like an outer body experience, watching them do one. Like that. That was
Yeah.
just that was something else.
Well, that's why I picked those kind of those comments, because they were the only ones that didn't really mention the band in the comments, but also
That's good.
because they were kind of hinting that they've been around for a long time. So yeah,
That's very good.
the next one, I've gearing this one towards Frank because I feel like he should get this. I'll give a hint straight away. It's also in Slain. Okay, so this is pure live art. It's hard to top this. This is inexplicable magic expressed in the purest way. Everything that makes up this is majestic. This work deserves reverence. Let us appreciate this for what it is in itself and for what it contains. Let's give it the recognition that such a great concert deserves in its own right.
That's one comment.
That's one comment. Now, what kind of fan would write that?
A fucking space cadet.
Yeah. Okay. What do space cadets listen to?
It's the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah, it is Red Hot Chili
Yeah.
Peppers. It was the longest.
That's a John Frusciante fan for sure.
It was the longest comment I found on it, and I said that has to go in because it's just too out there. The other one I have is I'm here because I need this every week to keep my shit straight. So the juxtaposition of the two of those comments, from this is pure live art to I need to keep myself sane. And that's Red Hot Chili Peppers, isn't it? So that was Red Hot Chili Peppers live in Slain in 2003. Okay, we're sticking with Slain, and but we're going back a bit more. So yeah, you just have to tell me the band really. So now that's how you deal with a crowd. What a legend.
Queen.
Ian's got it in one.
Oh.
Yeah, fair play. Yeah, so apparently at this concert, Freddie had to stop the show and ask people to behave because they were crazy drunk at this gig. And someone threw a cup at Brian May and he refused to keep playing, and the band had to convince him to do the encore, apparently. So it was a really drunk gig.
Thank God things have changed.
Yeah, that was Slain in 1986.
My
Queen
parents
played
and my
it.
aunt were at that.
Ah, well, there you go. One of the comments that I was going to put it in was, I can see my aunt in this video, which that would have been really good. Next one, I think should be a little bit easier. This is the comment. Was there in the middle at the front row, tripping balls. Good time to say the least.
Tripping balls.
Tripping balls.
King Gizzard.
Close.
Mac DeMarco.
Spot on.
The gig we were at.
Exactly, with the gig we were at, already mentioned in the podcast. So it was there in the middle of the front row, tripping balls. Good time to say the least. So yeah, Vicar Street, 2019. Mac DeMarco.
What are you doing tripping balls just before Christmas at Mac DeMarco? That's
I think I saw that guy.
Yeah. Okay. Last one. I'm gonna say me and Frank were at this. Goosebumps. The ending is crazy. Everyone going absolutely mental. Great times.
Ending is crazy.
The ending of the overall gig, the concert.
Was it My Bloody Valentine?
No, but you're on the right track.
Bjork.
Absolutely. Spot on.
Well Electric
done.
Picnic.
Yeah. Bjork, Electric Picnic,
Crystalline.
2013. Yeah, ended with Crystalline.
Yeah.
I remember you turning to me and going, "Did you not see was it like a light show? What you call it, like a Tesla type thing?"
Yeah, Tesla coil. Yeah,
a Tesla coil. There we go. Yeah, it ended with that, and you were going, "Oh my God, you see that Tesla coil?" But yeah, so Goosebumps. The ending is crazy. Everyone going absolutely mental. Great times, which I do remember. Everyone was going by the end of that. That was Saturday night, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Which is typically the peak point of Electric Picnic, where
it might have been Friday. I think Bjork was Friday and My Bloody Valentine. Or were they back to back? Was it My Bloody Valentine and then Bjork? Like that's
Well,
fucking. Like,
what an
reason-
evening, like.
The reason I went searching for this one is because you shared with us earlier in the week the poster for the 2013 electric picnic that we went to.
sorry, can we just go
And-
back to Ian said, "What an evening." For some
Yeah.
reason, that just sounds so funny. It's like I spent the evening with Bjork and Kevin Shields.
Yeah, like a distinguished gentleman in his smoking jacket and a glass of red wine
What a
sat by a
weird-
fire.
Like consider like if you think about all the evenings you've had in your life, that was one of our evenings.
But the reason I picked that is because you shared that list, so you were recently looking at it, so I thought that you'd know.
That lineup was it was stupid. It was absolutely ridiculous. There was like
No thought, like just throw them all together.
yeah, there was just too many bands at that. Like
David Byrne and St. Vincent still is the best gig I've ever been to.
yeah,
Wow.
Yeah.
Clinic, Arctic Monkeys, the Knife on their last ever tour. That was like fucking insane.
wow.
Wu-Tang Clan.
Wu-Tang Clan, yeah, that
Jesus
like
Christ. Was this the one fucking
yeah.
this was
Yeah.
Electric Picnic 2013?
2013,
yeah.
it was absolutely ridiculous. Like, Hosier, like
amazing.
way down the line, didn't even go see him. I remember like walking to see Bjork,
Yeah.
and hadn't really. We were still like in the woods. Then I heard the Broken Glass and Army of Me started, and I was like, "Fucking hell, this is like unbelievable gig." And then
Yeah.
I'm fairly sure My Bloody Valentine were after Bjork. What an evening!
What an evening.
I don't think anyone has ever described a night at a drunken festival of what an evening that was.
I was going to say, absolutely delightful evening.
That's what I'm here for.
I was tripping balls on cans at that point. There was
My favorite memory of that was when me and you arrived, Frank, and we thought we were being very clever, and we mixed our liter of vodka into our bottles of Coke, and we split it. And then we were like, we'll bring these into the festival with us, and we'll start going to see whatever bands we wanted to see. This is the Friday. We're probably there an hour. And the security guards, as you're going in, are like, you can't bring that in. And we're like, oh, it's just Coke. And they're like, yeah, it doesn't matter. We're going to take it off you, or else you can drink it. And me and Frank both downed all of our vodka and Coke. And Frank turned to the security guard and was like, somehow I'm less dangerous now, or something like that.
no. It's what I said was, I got to the gate, and he said you can't bring that in, and I was like, oh, but it's just Coke. And he's like, no, there's something mixed in it. I can smell it. I think he took the lid off and smelled it. And I was like, yeah, there actually is. There's a whiskey or vodka, whatever it was in it.
Yeah.
And he was like, you have two options. You can throw it away or you can drink it. And I was like, why? And he was like, it's a family event. And I was like, what? I was like, so I can go in here and drink this at my own pace because there's children here. Yeah, I'm not allowed to do that. Or I can down this in one go and I'll be more acceptable around the children.
It's
The
ridiculous.
thing is, what we didn't think of was there was always option C, that we could walk back to the tent and just leave it there and just buy a drink when we got in there. But
No,
that never.
It takes so
Yeah,
long. We're like an hour away from the tent, and like Wu-Tang were just about to start, and that's the fun of festivals. You'd miss them.
Yeah, exactly. But we really enjoyed Wu-Tang Clan, didn't we? Because we had just downed all that vodka.
I have a video of us at Wu-Tang. Well, had a video on some phone, whatever phone I had at the time. And I remember a week later or whatever, looking at all the videos from the festival. It's like drunken stuff or whatever. And they're playing Cream.
Yeah, I remember this video as well.
Yeah, and I remember I was listening back, and there's Shane beside me. It's really, really pissed with a Cork accent. Just go, cash rules everything around me. Cream, get the money. it's like,
Shouting it
you
as
know
well,
that-
shouting it like.
we all sing along at gigs, but it's when you hear yourself, you're just like, God, that sounds fucking awful.
Yeah. All I have to say about that is, in the moment, it felt right.
Yeah. And you also had a negative vodka inside you.
Yeah. So yeah, that was that's our game. Whose comment is it anyway? We'll be bringing that back, but I think he did very well there, lads. He actually got a lot of them first time, so fair play.
That was great.
Enjoyed that.
I found it difficult to leave the house, meet new people, or even talk to my friends or family.
Money worries are really getting the better of me. Will I be able to pay for the car, send the kids to school? What if the mortgages go up?
I found it very difficult to sleep at night. My mind would just be racing around for hours, just thinking about pointless things.
I'm an introvert. I found it very hard to get the courage up to talk to women or speak in public or just be myself around people, like, you know.
But then I tried drinking.
Now with just 8 cans of cider a day, I'm a different man. I can't stop talking. I'd be talking to the fucking dog walking down the street, so I would.
I drink a bottle of Tesco and vodka every day and I don't think about money at all anymore. Sure, the kids will be grand. Who needs a mortgage? I barely even use the car anymore.
I drink 3 bottles of red every evening after dinner now, and I have no problem sleeping at all. I'm passed out in bed by about 10. It's fantastic.
I try drink about 10 pints of stout a night now, and it really helps me come out of my shell. I'd go up to women and I'd tell them exactly how I feel about them, and I'd get up and I'd sing a song in front of everyone, and there'd be no nerves at all. I'd be absolutely fine about it now. I'm the man I want to be. I'm myself.
Drinking, an Irish government initiative. Drinking for a brighter future. Warning, alcohol may cause heart, liver and kidney damage, as well as mental illnesses such as depression and anxiety. But don't let that stop you. Don't be dry. And we're back. So before we do our weekly recommends, not weekly because we only do this once in a blue moon now. Before we do our recommends, as promised, I will announce our competition winner for free large black elephant room surfer t-shirt, because it's the last one we have and no one wanted to buy it, so we're giving it away for free. And we've put all the names into a hat. After rummaging through all the names, I've picked one out and I'm going to show it to the screen, and Shane, announce our winner.
Oh, and it's the Vi Queen, aka Becca from Viking Promotions. Fair play to you. T-shirt is in the post.
So
Well done, Becca.
we'll be sending that down Waterford way in the coming weeks.
Yeah, we'll be in touch.
We've no more t-shirts left, so we won't run a competition again.
Yeah.
That's all our merchandise gone, which is a good way to be, I suppose. Anyway, the Elephant Room recommends. What have you got for us? Ian, kick us off, please.
All right. So, in keeping with our All Things Live episode, it's also another famous Irish live album. I think it's fair to say this is completely No Bones live, because this artist is renowned for his live music. In fact, he hated the studio. So it's Rory Gallagher's Irish Tour 74, as the name suggests, released in 1974, recorded in January 74. And at the time, obviously, there was a lot of troubles going on up north, but he was one of the very few artists to actually go up north and perform live. And that album actually features, I think about half of it comes from the Belfast gig. The rest is from Cork. Absolutely phenomenal album. My favorite bridge of all time in any song I've ever heard in my life, it features on that album, A Million Miles Away. And it has to be that version. It's the live version. But I know, yeah, God, you know, Rory Gallagher, Jimi Hendrix's favorite guitarist ever. So, you know, what more can I say?
Yeah, his live stuff really was like, you don't even know his studio stuff. Like,
Yeah.
like famous wise, all his classic stuff is the tours, I think. Anyway.
Oh, absolutely. Like, he hated the studio, you know.
But yeah, all the footage as well. He's just phenomenal live artist.
Completely.
My recommends this week, keeping in the theme of live albums. So I just picked my favorite live album to listen to, and it's the Mutton Birds. Free Range is the name of the album, and it was recorded in the King's Arms in 2012. So the King's Arms is actually a famous music venue in Auckland. It was a music venue for 130 years. Guess what it is now, lads?
Chipper.
Yeah, no, it's it's now apartments. It's just an apartment block. So it was demolished in 2018. So but it would have been a famous music venue for 130 years. And I thought that was just kind of poignant because we were talking about live music and where it's going and things like that. And then there's things like this happening in the world where like music venues that have been around for a very long time are now just getting turned into apartments and things like that, which is, you think something that old should be preserved. But
Tivoli Theatre, Dublin, very recently.
Yeah. So, so the Mutton Birds, if you want to have a taste or a slice of what the King's Arms sounded like, listen to Free Range. Now, this is one of their albums. They actually had 3 albums out prior to this. So it's a good mix of all 3 of those albums. Highlight for me is a song called A Thing Well Made, which I've shared with you before in different things.
I really like that.
It has a beautiful feature of euphonium. So an instrument you don't come across too much at the start. So yeah, just check that out and enjoy the euphonium.
To keep in a line with live stuff, I am going with Nirvana, Live at the Paramount.
Oh yeah.
Halloween 1991, which was pro shot on 16mm. It's just, I think most classic images of Nirvana comes from that. Like just how Kurt Cobain looked on the night, the clothes he was wearing, just the shots of Dave Grohl playing the drums from that night, the lighting, everything about that. Like the way they finished with Endless Nameless, they started with Jesus to Want Me for Sunbeam. Everything about that is just like classic. And that was like October 31st, 1991. It's like just after like release of Nevermind and just before like Teen Spirit had properly blown up and everything had gone crazy. That was them playing in their hometown. The Paramount is quite big. I actually walked by the Paramount when I was in Seattle, and it's like the Olympia, maybe even a bit smaller. So like that was big for them. Like that was them coming home to like, oh my God, look how big we are. Things got so much bigger after that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really them on the beginning of the crest of the wave of going massively famous. I think that's them at their best. Like that is my favorite version of Nirvana. That was them as a 3-piece, really solid, really loving playing live as well. Because before they'd started taking the piss doing stuff. There's a really good early version of Rape Me on it, which has a guitar solo in it.
I was just going to say, dare I say, it's my favorite version of Rape Me.
Yeah, it is. It's so funny because when I hear the studio version now, I always get disappointed when it doesn't go into that guitar solo.
Yeah, and even the tempo, Frank. Like
yeah,
I'd much rather the tempo.
It's real drudgy, but yeah, just the way the video of it looks, and it's been released on DVD now and
I have it on Blu-ray,
CD. There we go. But I had
what an evening watching that.
I had a
quite the evening.
I had a bootleg of it for years. It was called like I forget what it was called, like Spooky Night or something like that.
You can still get that. You can still get that bootleg. I actually saw it on sale, and I won't divulge my bootleg sources, but yeah.
But I bought it on CD years ago. Obviously, Live Tonight sold out. It has a lot of that gig, so I was like, oh wow, that full gig on CD. I bought it. And it skips on lots of the songs. It skips on Rape Me.
Oh, God.
So I used to be so pissed off. I was like, well, never just fucking release these things. And then thankfully they did. They released it on CD and DVD. And even on vinyl. But it's always very expensive on vinyl, so I don't have it.
Yeah, it's really, like, I actually looked it up recently, and it really holds its value. Like, even brand new reissue. Like,
yeah. Same with Live at Reading.
Yeah.
My other recommendation is new music, though. It's Crumb. Crumb have released 3 new songs. First one was Trophy, which is unreal, has a really good video, and there's a really good song. I've been listening to that for the last 2 weeks, and then absolutely out of nowhere this week they released 2 new songs. I can't even remember the name of one of them. One is called Balloon, but they're both really good. I haven't had a chance to sit down and listen to them through headphones, but I'm very happy that they're releasing new music in quick succession. And while we're on the live front, the video for Trophy has snippets in it where they're in a live old-fashioned kind of 1920s, 1940s theatre, and it's actually a theatre called the Ulster Hall.
Oh,
yeah. So it's been there since the 20s, I think. And
Ulster Hall.
Yeah, crazy. I'd like to look up the history. I haven't actually looked up the history. I just noticed it today when I was looking at the video of it. But
Interesting.
there you go. It's a nice little live tidbit along with the new stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, I think we'll leave it there, and we'll hopefully see everyone again in a live venue at some stage.
What an evening.